Plaintiff Josh Phillips dated the defendant, and they bonded over their love of motorcycles. Josh claims after they started dating, the defendant felt like he spent more time on his motorcycles than with her. And he's suing because after they broke up, she intentionally crashed into his motorcycle. Defendant Kaylin Boris says she started dating Josh when she was 18 and he was 38. Kaylin claims when she broke up with Josh, he became aggressive and grabbed her arm. And she accidentally hit his motorcycle while trying to get away from him.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Well, basically, I run a large sports bar back home in Nebraska there, and Kaylin came to work there shortly after graduating.
Graduating from?
From high school. Mm-hmm. I'm a large motorcycle enthusiast, okay? I ride motorcycles a lot. You know, she expressed her interest in motorcycles as well. I do a lot with fundraisers around my area. We do a lot with Sesostr Shrine, Salvation Army, things like that, using motorcycles. You know, going on rides, things like this. She started becoming a part of that. You know, she, like I said, expressed her interest in the motorcycles, as well as me. You know, we had common ground, you know, obviously hit it off. We started dating, things like that. You know, motorcycles were a large part of our lives. You know, a few months down the road, things kind of shifted a little bit. You know, again, I'm still active, you know, doing things with motorcycles. She felt that I was spending more time on my motorcycles than I was her, you know, felt neglected.
Did you all live together at any point?
Yes, sir. We moved in right away, you know, shortly after dating. It was a pretty quick, you know, moving relationship. You know, like I said, she's, you know, everything was great. You know, it was wonderful. I fell in love with her right away. You know, everything was great. You know, we hit it off over the motorcycles, you know, and then, like I said, she felt like I paid more attention to my motorcycles. You know, I did what every man does. You know, I work on my motorcycles in my garage, you know, spend time in my garage, you know, friends come over, they help me with the motorcycles, things like that, you know. So I do spend a lot of time, you know, we do a lot of rides, we have meetings where we have to organize, you know, all these fundraisers and things like that. She then started, you know, dropping off.
Sometimes they do last until 3 in the morning.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
There's a lot to be done, a lot to plan, you know, and things like that.
3 days a week, he has to do it till 3 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, son.
But anyway, so she felt, you know, that I was spending more time on my motorcycles than her, you know, and like I said, she started stopping.
Did that cause problems, obviously, and
yeah,
did you all break up over that?
Yeah, she stopped going on all the rides and things like that. She became insecure, thinking that I was cheating on her, you know, while I was doing all this stuff, which of course I wasn't, you know, I innocently, you know, like I said, just riding, you know, and doing fundraisers and things like that.
May I hear from you?
Absolutely, Your Honor. Like you said, you know, I started working there after graduation. We started seeing each other. You know, things were really great for a while. He's obviously very charismatic. He can put on a good show. He's a great talker. There's a 20-year difference.
What did you all talk about? Oh, 20-year difference?
20-year difference, you know. So, you know, obviously.
I've always wondered what people with that age difference talk about, particularly when they're, how old are you now?
I'm 21.
How old when you all met? How old were you when you started dating?
18.
18? And he was what?
38-ish.
Okay, 37. So yeah, I understand how a woman 40 could relate to a man that's 60. They've lived quite a few decades, but just always wondered what you could discuss with a teenager.
Not much.
That's a good point.
I just don't know. Okay, maybe you can, but why don't we start there? What would you all talk about when you were a teenager and he was nearly 40?
A lot of work-related things. You know, we work together, like you said, work-related. Obviously, his motorcycles. I've always, you know, dated older men. They're more experienced, more financially stable, all the good stuff. You know.
Experienced in what way?
Lots of ways. Has more experience with life, has more life lessons, obviously.
Okay. What'd you learn from him?
Yeah.
What'd you learn from him?
Not much.
What did you learn from the other older guys?
Also not much.
So not quite working out?
No, not really.
You dating older guys? Other than maybe the money? You said those
Sure.
are the two reasons you can learn something from him: experience and money. They meet your financial expectations?
You know, for a while he did, and then we,
How
stopped
about the
going
other
on
men?
dates.
How about the
No.
other older men? They
No.
never did?
No.
So that's why they weren't around anymore. They didn't meet any expectations, no experience and no money. All right. Well, I know a lot of guys that might want to bestow some knowledge on you, but they broke.
Yeah.
Can I refer you to them?
Yeah.
Let me leave you alone. I'm picking on you, but he should be the one I should be picking on.
I would
Taking
agree.
advantage of this teenage girl. Like you say, you're a handsome guy, got money, charismatic. You know, you had a disproportionate amount of power over her. Now in the Me Too movement, part of it is just having a disproportionate amount of influence on the relationship, which could be manipulated into a romantic, sexual, intimate relationship. Tell me about the damages you're suing her for.
So basically, I come home and, she'd packed up her stuff and she was leaving, and so we stand in the yard, having a conversation, argument anyway, talking about everything. And, obviously my motorcycles were the object of her frustration. One of my Harleys was sitting out. I have a large, wide driveway. One of my Harleys was sitting clear off over to the side, and as she left, stormed out. I mean, she literally turned over to hit one of my bikes, as she was leaving, like had to physically go all the way over to the other side of the driveway, to hit this bike, and then took off. And I mean, I got pictures and a copy of the estimate and everything that I got, from the damages that were done, deliberately as she was leaving.
Did you all discuss her paying for the damage?
Yeah, that's why I waited so long, Your Honor. I've given her ample opportunities. I've sent messages, phone calls, left voice messages, and things like that, giving her ample time, and willing to make arrangements, for her to, pay for the damages, but she just hasn't done it, and so that's why we ended up here.
What do you say to this?
Your Honor, like I said earlier, I want to reiterate this, that obviously the relationship started off very good, charismatic, like I said, can put on a good show. So after things started going downhill in our relationship, like I said, we stopped going on dates, we stopped going out, he stopped texting me back.
We went on a date right before we broke up.
On a Tuesday at a movie for $5.
It was still a date.
That's beside the point.
Still no date. You knew what time it was. Go ahead. Go ahead. You want to get in here and play crazy. He think it was him. Go ahead. Don't kid yourself.
Anyways, Your Honor.
Try that without some money and see how that work out. Go ahead.
So, like I said, things started going downhill. He would go on biker trips. He'd stop inviting me. Those were on weekends or perhaps a couple days at a time.
Did you suspect he was seeing other ladies? Is
absolutely. And actually, that's where I'm headed. He would go to biker church on Saturday nights, whatever that is. There's obviously, women that are around that. What women doesn't like a guy on a motorcycle? You know what I mean?
Again, planning our fundraisers. That's all that was.
Go ahead.
So he would stop hanging out with me on Saturday nights, wouldn't text me back, wouldn't call me. So, I was sick of it.
His pattern changed significantly.
Significantly, absolutely.
And when you mentioned it to him, what would he say? Did you tell him, hey, you've changed. You did this in the past and now you no longer do it. What would he say?
He would say, I've just been super busy. Okay. I've been super busy with work, with biker,
busier
church.
than usual.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not the type of woman that's going to put up with something like that. I deserve someone that absolutely wants to be with me and shows that attention. And obviously that's what I want for the most part. And
Did you ever see any evidence or become convinced that he was seeing other ladies?
He would hide his phone quite a bit, Your Honor.
This didn't happen.
Okay.
And so I decided to break up with him. Obviously we lived together, so there's complications with that, but we were having this conversation in the yard, like he said. He pulled up, he was obviously very angry, heartbroken, hurt, upset, whatever it is. And I had never seen him be like this before, but he got aggressive with it. He grabbed my arm, he didn't want me to leave, and me being, a very small, young woman, I didn't know how to handle that situation. So I, ran in my car, got in, and I whipped out of there, like you have to, because I did not want to be in that situation anymore. I did not want to be around him anymore. And so I decided to hop in my car.
Why don't you think you should pay for the damage?
Because it was absolutely an accident. I was trying to get away from him because I'd never seen him that way.
Yeah, but if you're negligent and cause an accident, you're responsible for it. I'm hearing that in your haste to spin out and leave real quick, that's what you told me, that's what caused the accident. So I'm going to conclude that you owe him for those damages. As such, $2,865 is your judgment, sir. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Act your goddamn age.
That's why we're here, because I'm taking care of business. You know what I mean? It didn't have to come to this. We could have done it civilly like I tried to do for 2 years and you didn't allow me. So that's why we're here.
Well, you shouldn't have cheated.
Didn't, never did.
Okay.
Tried to tell you.
For sure.